First we need some cheese, like Parmesan or maybe pecorino. You can choose whatever you want. I am choosing Parmigiano because that's what's in my fridge, but you can add pecorino for the extra spicy flavor. You can also buy the bagged cheese if you want, it's all up to you. I like to use the fresh one, it has a better taste for me. But you can buy whatever you want, it doesn't matter as long as you enjoy cooking. Next we will need to make sure that the cheese is spread all over the plate. We will use some eggs that we will put in a small bowl, because they will always be messy when you add them later. That's why I add them to a little bowl. We will put the eggs on the side for now, we don't need them at the moment. Next we use a blender, or if you have a machine, to make some breadcrumbs. I'm using a white bread, you can use whatever bread you want. White bread is the cheapest, I mean you can choose wheat bread, black bread, whatever you want. White bread is well, the easiest to make small breadcrumbs from. You need about half a bread in total for this dish. You can use the rest of the bread to make breadcrumbs and put them in your freezer. And this is what I do all the time, because you don't need the whole bread, but if you are keeping it open you might have too much and you have to throw it away, which is not really what we're going to do. Next you make sure the blender is tight and secure, and you make them as small as possible. Don't keep pushing the button, try to pulsate like I'm doing here, because if you keep pressing, it will be very hot and it will be like mushy, and this is not what we want. Next we will add some salt and pepper and some oregano. You can add more spices if you want, like chili flakes or curry powder or whatever, but you don't really need to. I'm keeping it very simple, I'm keeping it very clean. I'm just adding salt, pepper and some oregano, some dried oregano, and that should be sufficient. Next we will add this mixture to the cheese, and then we will spread it in the pot where it's in. This makes sure that we have the different flavors all over the place, and we will mix it later on with some more. But you should mix it with your hands, and then when it's mixed it should be nice. I'm adding an extra ingredient, some Doritos with pure paprika flavor. This is just for extra kick. You can put some paprika powder in there, but I tend to use these because it has like the little bit of crunchiness. Even if it's dust, you can get some crunchiness and some extra nice flavor in there. Don't use too much, just use a little bit. Blend it as powdery as you can, and then add it to the mixture. Yeah, like you can see, it's very powdery. I will show you in a second. There we go. We will add it to the mixture now. It's just for flavor. We don't need to use more than this, because it will enhance the flavor. Next we're going to add some basil, like some really fresh basil. We add some olive oil. I have some olive oil that I've mixed with cloves of garlic and with peppers, but you can use regular olive oil or any other oil. Next we add the whole bowl of garlic. You can use less. We smash it, we peel it, and then we just add it to the blender. You can use like 2 or 3 cloves, that's also fine, but I tend to use more because I really like garlic. But it's all up to you, you can use as much as you want. We're not taking any measurements here. Then we will add a little bit of bread. This is just to soak up the whole mixture. Then we will just blend it, and then after we blend this we will add it to our mixture. You can use no bread if you want, but then you will get a mushy substance, and it's very not so easy to blend it all over the place, so I tend to use it like this. With the leftovers of your bread you can also use the same blender and then put it in the freezer like I told you before. Now grab a large bowl, take the biggest one you have for our meat mixture. I'm using lean beef and veal together with some pork, but you can use whatever you want. Don't use chicken, because if you use chicken it's very moist and it's not really the correct meat to use in this recipe. If you're using chicken, you need to use another recipe. You need to add more breadcrumbs. But the mixture I'm using is 80% lean beef and then some pork meat. We add a little bit of the mixture and then we will start blending it with our hand. Don't use a machine or anything that heats up the meat, because it will not be nice. Next we add our eggs. I'm just starting with 2 and then we will just rub it all over the meat. When you rubbed it in, you will start mixing it again with your hands, and then you will add the breadcrumb mixture as you go. When you notice that it becomes too dry, you add an extra egg. If you notice you need more breadcrumbs, you just add more breadcrumbs. You just need to feel it with your hand. That's why I'm not using any gloves. Of course, wash your hands, but if you're using gloves, it's harder to feel the consistency of your dish. So just keep mixing and mixing until you get the right consistency that you want. When you're done mixing, get a little bowl of water and then make your fingers a little bit wet with the water. Start rubbing it in your hands, and then we go and roll some meatballs. I'm suggesting not to make them too big, because we're going to fry them in oil later. If you're going to cook them in sauce, you can make bigger ones, but the right size for this kind of dish should be about like this, a tennis ball, small tennis ball. Yeah, that's really nice. And now you just roll balls until you are done with the whole mixture. When you are done with rolling all the balls, you just put the bowl away, and then we will put a pan on the stove with some oil. I'm using corn oil here. You can use other oil like peanut oil or whatever. I'm using a little bit of olive oil into the mixture of oil, and then we just heat it up. When it's super hot, you can start adding some of the meatballs into the oil. Don't put in too many, because the more you put in, the more your oil starts to cool off, and then it will not be correct. So just add a few of them, and then we just wait. You turn them around as they are browning. There we go, perfectly golden brown. And then you just wait until they're golden brown on the bottom, and you just put them on a plate. Then we add some kitchen paper, because it will soak up the oil a little bit, and then you just keep repeating until it's done. Once you're done with the meatballs, you can put the oil away, let it cool off, and then you can reuse it if it's not too dirty. But basically the oil is no longer needed. If you're making some other dish, you can use it still. I'm not throwing it away, I'm making some other dish later, so I will just keep it for now. Just put them on a plate, let them cool off for a bit, like 10 minutes. After 10 minutes they should be bite ready. I'm taking a bite right now, it's very hot, but it's really nice and really moist and flavorful. There you go, Italian meatballs, or polpette, fritti of course.